So maybe I can ask you first just a small minute on what each one of your companies does. If you can, Anthony, if you could start.
Sure. So my company is SciSense. We actually provide a platform that makes it very easy to analyze complex and big data sets. We work with very large clients like eBay and Lockheed Martin to startups like Fiverr and Wix. And a lot of experience in how startups are using data to succeed, and also relevant to the tourism industry.
I don't know if this is on. Okay. Zomato is one of the largest food tech companies in the world. We operate currently in the discovery as a discovery platform, so that means that people all around the world, in the 23 countries and over 10,000 cities that we're in, can use Zomato to find all the restaurants around them, filtered by cuisine, price, whether it allows pets or not, etc., etc. On top of this, we also provide a host of different restaurant services, such as table bookings, POS, advertising solutions, and all of that.
I'm Anthony from Hole19. Hole19 is a platform that connects the world of golf.
Sorry, wait.
And here's Mr. Dash.
I'm a journalist from the Portuguese newspaper called Expresso, and also from a magazine called Exame. So thank you for BNB and for inviting me to moderate this debate. So
we're still in the introduction phase.
So let me start maybe to ask you a small presentation, a small speech about your projects,
Oh, they already did that, so we'll pass on.
Okay.
So Anthony from Hole19, the platform that connects the world of golf. Golf is a quite important industry in the tourism space, especially in Portugal, where it represents nearly 14% of Portuguese tourism GDP. That being said, we're available in 154 countries. We have 700,000 users around the world, playing around 50,000 rounds of golf every week. The interesting part about this is the data that we collect in the back end, so we know where people are playing, when they're playing, how they're playing, with who they're playing. So imagine English golfers that come play in Portugal. We have that data, and we can actually also predict when they're going to come again on the next golf trip, considering that golfers spend around 200 euros every single day in an average 7-day trip of golf. It's quite interesting data that we collect.
My name is Rita. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Rita. I've created Café Pessoa, small producer. It's almost a boutique producer, 3 years ago. And I have 2 projects related with tourism. One is Lisbon Shopping Destination. It's a flagship project from our city hall. The other one is Show Me Cities. I started with Rio de Janeiro and then with Lisboa, and I don't know what is going to happen next in this project. It might be Tel Aviv, Marrakesh, I don't know. We'll talk about it later.
Well, my first question for all the panelists will be what kind of vision and differentiation that you have to win in this market of tourism. So.
I think we have to look at what's really driving tourism and what we can actually do with it, because I think there's very interesting things happening with data. And the reason that it's growing more and more is actually because of all of you and you. Everybody here, you all have a data footprint. And you're using it and expressing it more and more, whether it's through social networks or mobile applications. In addition, when we look at how much commerce is happening online around tourism, it's a very significant proportion of all the kind of transactions that are happening. And I think that there's 2 things that are very interesting for this market that can differentiate. I think in regards to services, you're seeing a lot more services on top of platforms. So for instance, if we take Airbnb as an example, a number of startups in the industry either offering complementary services, like taking care of all the communication channels and check-ins and things like that. There's also startups that are actually leveraging data from Airbnb, like ADNA. So you can, if you want to put a listing on and you're new to the industry, you can actually choose a city and see what rate each room is charged in that city for different types of rooms, whether it's a studio to a 3-bedroom. the seasonality and those kind of things. So I think there's a big opportunity to kind of leverage and create new services on top of existing services. And secondly, I think there's a lot of niche opportunities. So some startups are actually offering platforms for tour operators. So they provide an end-to-end solution to kind of work with different suppliers to make it easy for them to manage their operations. So I think there's a lot of parts of the industry that haven't actually had any kind of disruption or technology that I think we can apply technology. And secondly, I think because of these growing platforms, there's opportunities to create complementary services on top of them and stand out in that way.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question, and one that probably all the startups which are in this room today would like to get an answer to, is how do you differentiate yourself, and what does it take for you to basically win in the sector of tourism? So like it has been said here before, data and modernizing some services which it had not yet had access to that level of sophistication is a main opportunity that you can find. And I guess people tend to think that all good ideas have been taken thus far. I don't think that's true, and I think we saw this today during the pitches of the startups from the Lisbon Challenge. A lot of them are trying to modernize things that a lot of us didn't even maybe realize that needed modernizing, and that's why people who are experts at a particular area, which are later on using that expertise to create a startup, that creates a lot of value. They're identifying small niches in the market which are just absolutely open for disruption, and they're bringing their experience into it. I think that's one of the major things. The other thing would be to tackle, obviously, the largest problems. So, say, hotel booking. I'm thinking that probably before Airbnb came up, nobody thought that the hotel booking industry would ever be disrupted. Right? It would be booking and Expedia, and it would continue to be like that forever, until then Airbnb happened, right? The sharing economy happened. So the market is always open for disruption. It's more of a matter of identifying those niches very well. And yesterday I was speaking with Ricardo, and Ricardo from Airbnb, and he brought to my attention something which was said to the founders of Airbnb when they were starting out from Y Combinator, which is the key thing is do things that don't scale. Everybody's obsessed about scaling and how am I going to get my startup to be worth $1 trillion. But you're not going to get to 1 trillion if you can get to 1,000, right? So the big advice here was do things that don't scale. And we find that to be extremely true. For our case, for Zomato, we're an 8-year-old company. When we first started, we weren't doing something that was extremely innovative or extremely new. We were doing restaurant discovery. Other services had tried this before. Yelp, being founded by an ex-PayPal mafia person, was one of the most notable, right? So Yelp was already doing this. TripAdvisor was doing something similar. So how did we get to grow from a company that was nothing in one small city in India, and now suddenly we have 95 million users, we're worth over $1 billion? How do you go from A to B? Again, it was doing things that don't scale. We put an incredible, outrageous amount of effort into the way that we collect the content for our restaurants. When we launched here in Lisbon last year, I was actually part of the team which walked every single street in Lisbon, and we went into every cafe and we collected information on a little notepad about what the prices were. Sometimes, again, they didn't even want us there. They thought we were trying to sell them insurance or something. They were trying to kick us out. But again, we would get the information because we knew that our users would appreciate that. And after that insane amount of efforts, that's what got users to decide, oh, actually, I'm not going to use TripAdvisor, I'm going to go for Zomato because Zomato has better information. Even though, I mean, on the face value of it, probably someone would look at that and say, this is not scalable. You cannot just brute force and go and visit every single restaurant. But the truth is we do, and we do every 3 months. And we refresh our information. So that's the
okay, thanks.
long and short of it.
Actually, for your case, is a more vertical market. So how do you grow?
Yeah, so indeed, golf is a vertical. But, people think it's a niche. It's actually a $76 billion industry, so it's a relatively wealthy niche. So we obviously see lots of opportunities there. While Hole19, when it started off, was a consumer product, strictly consumer, like a GPS and scoring utility for the golfer. The business model behind it, which we're executing now, was always the data play. So much like what the gentleman here on my right mentioned, it's all about data, and I think that's the future of any business model. You might see an app, but you would wonder, okay, it's free, where's the business model? It's all about data capture. So in our case, it was about leveraging all the data that we have and packaging that back and give it back to the industry. So the key word here for us is yield management and revenue management for golf courses and tour operators. So having a wide user base, in our case, less than 0.5% of our users are in Portugal. As I mentioned before, 154 countries. I don't know how much that translates into cities. You guys like saying cities? There's probably a lot of cities. Our top 2 cities are New York and London, for example. So seasonality is another thing that came up here. And we need to figure out for the golf industry and the tourism industry is how can we leverage data to benefit the industry. So in our case, London and New York are the biggest cities. In November, December, no one in London and New York can play golf because it's snowing and it's bloody cold. Now, the opportunity here is to leverage that data and give them contextual suggestions on where next to play golf. In the UK, obviously, us being a Portuguese company, we try and promote Portugal as much as possible. And the idea is to say, hey, you might have played golf in Spain last year. Why not come to the Algarve this year? And give them the right information at the right moment. So we know that golf trips are booked in November, beginning of December. Then next year in October, we're going to push you. Obviously, if we know you want that information, we'll push you that information and give you the right deal at the right time. So it's yield management for golf courses to help them make money in their off season. And then there's a whole other set of opportunities we have, like the platform play that you had mentioned. It's a layer, we have a layer of users, and on top of that, there's lots of business models to be built upon. We can go through affiliation with e-commerce, which is a $3.5 billion opportunity in golf. But the core for us really is travel. So, okay.
Only learning here. I hope to be at your level. Well, concerning content, which is mainly what I do, and concerning Lisbon in Portugal, I think my greatest tip for someone who intends to invest in this area, tourism, would be do something original for sure, an original idea, do something relevant and practical. Don't just do another guide about a city, a general guide, because nobody will give you money and publicity for that. We have so many by now and for free. Try to understand what areas we still have. We have a lot of field to explore in tourism in Portugal. We have the religious area. I'm not crazy and fanatic about Fatima, but we can make so many tourism around that. And at the same time, disperse a little bit Lisbon, which is becoming a massive tourism destiny that scares me, and I think scares all Lisboners here. You could invest in tourism related to sea. I think the sea is the greatest gadget we have right now. So everything related to sea, surf, skiing, everything. Spas, whatever it takes to the sea. Because Portugal is mainly sea. The sea is our soul. Everything we do, think, eat is related somehow with the sea. And golf, for sure. We'll have a few. And very good ones. Culture. It's extremely important to receive ARCO this year in Portugal. This is going to be huge. It's going to be fantastic. This is qualified tourism, which is what we need. Festivals, summer festivals are great, but this is not qualified tourism. We need tourism with level, with no offense to festivals, I like them a lot, but we need to invest in high qualified tourism. That it will be definitely bring and attract collectors to Lisbon, to our first ARCO. It's one of the main and more important art fair in the world. It's doing 35. It's turning 35 years now, and I think it's very, very important for us. We should be honored to receive ARCO here, and we'll get another web summit for sure. Sorry. 3 web summits that will bring also qualified tourism to Portugal. So this is my...
So you need to have more attention for the countryside and the rivers or
yeah,
even small cities in the
because it's always Lisbon right now. We are blind with Lisbon, and in Lisbon it's always the same neighborhoods. You know, you see tourists all day up the hill and down the hill, and go to Sé, and go to Castelo, and then to Fado. Lisbon is so much more than that. We have so many neighborhoods, so many things to see here. I don't know what is going on here, but I think the guides and maybe the hotels, they are always driving people to the same places. And that places are almost unbearable for us, unlivable.
So another thing that I think it could be interesting for this audience to know is how these, for examples of startups that are already have growth, what mistakes do you take, and what kind of things you could change in a different way, or do you go in a different way? What kind of mistakes could avoid?
Okay, I think this is a very important question. I think firstly you're not going to avoid mistakes, and that's important, and I think you should make them. You should make them quickly, and you should learn from them. So I think that's important. In terms of our growth and experience, firstly, you know, we're a company that existed for 10 years already, and just in terms of development, we spent 5 years in development. It's a long time to not be on the market, to be investing in your product. And I think the biggest mistake we made in the beginning was how we defined the product. And I think, you know, we're a solution to analyze data. So it's obviously a component to make it look nice and visualize and analyze like Excel. And there's a component to actually get the data in and to shape it in the way that you need so you can do that analysis. And I think in the beginning we spent too much time just thinking we're going to make an easy tool that's going to make it easy for people to analyze the data. But if we look at the real problem, the problem is actually managing the data, making it quick to query it, because it often takes a lot of resources, and making it easy for somebody to take lots of different data sources that they want to use and put it together. So I think the big issue is really how we define the problem. And I think one tip that I have in regard to that is for all startups here, is trying to look at the problem of your industry that you're trying to solve end to end, and look at all the points of friction. Where is it difficult for someone, and what is the biggest pain point they have, and how can you create a solution that actually solves all those pain points, or really addresses the real issue. And I think one area in tourism that still hasn't been addressed is kind of the process of actually getting to the destination. Making a booking is still something that's complicated. Even though you've got these aggregators, if I have a frequent flyer card, I might want to check if I'm eligible for a free ticket, and then compare these sites. And then at booking, if I want to actually get to the airport, there's one system to see if the flight's on time, another system to book my seat. And then I have to go through security, which is becoming more of an issue. And then, then I'm going to sit in the plane, I don't know if it's a comfortable place or not, if the flight's going to go on time. I think that's an issue that, there's a lot of steps involved, there's no solution out there, but it's a very big pain point for everybody who's traveling to a destination. So my biggest tip, I think, is to look at the problem, make mistakes firstly, enjoy the mistakes, learn quickly from the mistakes, but try and look at the problem in detail, look at it entire, from end to end.
Zomato.
I happen to wholeheartedly agree with you when you say that mistakes are actually good. Make mistakes. You'll get to learn sometimes a lot more from one mistake than you would from 3 months of just playing it safe and not going ahead. If anything, for all of you who are thinking of building a company today or which are developing your company, it's better to try and structure it in a way that you can very, very quickly learn from a mistake, launch something, see what's wrong with it, learn from it, adjust, and move ahead, and you'll see that things will go at 10 times the speed that they would go otherwise. And for us specifically, for Zomato, for our story, if there's anything that we could have done differently, I would say that, again, as with any startup, when you hit a certain point, again, like Anthony was saying as well, you can do anything, right? You can turn it into a platform play, you can sell data, you can do, and for us, Zomato, I mean, we're in the area of food and restaurants. We have probably one of the largest databases of restaurants and food all around the world. We know what people are eating, at what time they're searching for restaurants, where they're searching for restaurants, which one do they actually decide upon. And very, very soon, we're sort of building an ecosystem. We're going into point of sale and also table bookings. So we'll actually get to know how much did this person spend on that restaurant on that particular day. So we have a ton of data. So it's very easy to get bedazzled by this and to think suddenly that you can do everything. And you want to do everything. Usually that does not end well. Focus is very, very, very important. There are really, really, really good competitors out there in the market. They're really good services. If you don't do something extremely well as a company, if you don't solve a pain point that you have identified and you don't solve it at least 10 times better than your main competitor, then chances are people are not going to choose your product when crunch time comes. You focus, and the ability to choose one thing and do it really, really well is, and only after you've really mastered that can you start considering doing something different. I think would be my biggest advice.
That's awesome advice. I'd love to hire this guy. I don't know how much time we have to talk about mistakes, because I could go on forever. I've made every single mistake possible. Some people who know me here, before I even started Hole19, I started off by myself, so there's the first mistake. Don't try to do things by yourself, it doesn't work. Second thing, I'm just going to list mistakes, basically. I started by myself. I tried to look money from the wrong people for too long of a time. I focused on building a complete product from the beginning, rather than, even though I do agree with do things that don't scale, I tried to, I actually limited my scaling opportunities. So I'll give you an example. Our product is a GPS product. We had to map coordinates, GPS coordinates on golf courses. I spent a year building a beautiful platform, outsourcing, by the way, that's also a mistake. I spent a year mapping out Portuguese golf courses and building a complete platform, when that really meant I could not scale to the US because I don't have US golf courses. If I would have mapped US golf courses first, I could have sold my product in the US before scaling out. So I had that mistake. Not building the right team from the get-go, which is sort of tied into the building things alone. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a designer, and I'm CEO of a software company. Sounds weird. My advice is, if you're going to get into tech, make sure you have good tech people surrounding you, and if you're in the consumer space, design people. Don't forget about that, because you can't just launch a half-assed product into the App Store. It needs to be real crisp, it needs to be sexy. If you want to get a grow user base quickly, it needs to look beautiful. You can't just launch the so-called MVP, what everyone's talking about, which on the web is doable, but in the App Store, the expectations are just up there with apps like Zomato, Airbnb, which look beautiful. So build the right team, surround yourselves with the right people. Don't go chasing VCs, venture capitalists, if you're looking for money early on, because they're just going to make your life harder. We decided, and I can give you an example, when we raised our first round of financing, we had an offer on the table for 600,000 euros at a valuation of maybe 4 million euros at the time. And we declined that offer and went for 150,000 euros at a valuation of 1 million euros. Why? Because the guy who was going to give us that money was so much more added value for us and really helped us get to the next point. So don't think short term when you're looking for money and also product. Make sure you're getting the people that can help you get to that next level. The example is that this angel has connections with Apple and Google, which connected us to the App Store people, gave us App Store promotions. A VC, or that VC in this case, did not have those connections. So I could have had more money in the bank, but I probably wouldn't be sitting here with 700,000 users, which obviously next to the 95 million sounds ridiculous, but
I'm even more ridiculous.
It's a niche, it's a small niche. The good thing is that one of our competitors in the US has 2 million users, and with those 2 million, they're doing $350 million worth of revenue. So I do see the light at the end of the tunnel here. But coming back to the mistakes, focus, a big one. I wasted a lot of time, and time is something you don't have. You got to move real quick. There's one thing that Reid Hoffman said, the founder of LinkedIn. If you look back at your product 6 months ago and you're not ashamed of it, then you're doing something wrong. So I'm ashamed of every single product that we launch. And it's never perfect. And you always want to get everything nice, but you need to think, hey, we need to move quick because you know what? TripAdvisor is moving faster. You know, in your case, you have your competitors that are moving faster. You always need to be a step ahead of the competition. Another mistake, obsessing with the competition. Don't obsess with the competition. Focus on your product, focus on your vision. Competition is going to be there. Be aware of it, but don't obsess. There's more. I mean, just talk to me later if you want to talk about more mistakes.
I think my advice would be, for sure, it's, again, in Portugal, make good partnerships. Don't do what others do. Don't miss time doing what you have, like Zomato, for instance. We, Lisbon Shopping Destination, we just a partnership with Zomato. I don't know if you know that. I had a meeting like 3 weeks ago because we wanted to have a review space in our website. Why am I doing this if they already have it and so good? Okay, so this is the links I would definitely tell someone that is starting a business in content about Portugal to do. Do good partnerships to distribute your product. Institutional, corporate, whatever. And also for communicating, because you lose a lot of time, a lot of money communicating with Facebook, with Google Ads. So if you can have first a partner who will splash your information in the market, and then you'll get step by step on Google Ads and so on. I think this is my biggest advice.
Okay, thank you. So, I'd like to propose you to discuss a little bit how do you preview to growth. You can imagine how do you grow the way you would have to be a unicorn. Let me put in this way. So, in high level of objectives.
Okay. I think you have to use the appropriate techniques to your stage. I think you can only scale when you've actually verified that you have some kind of product in the market that is different, that people actually want to purchase, that they want to buy. I'm not going to go into the details because I'm sure they'll have a lot more kind of techniques of how to grow. But I will say that one thing is very important. The one thing is very important, and a lot of people forget this, is ecosystem. You don't exist alone in any industry that you're in. And people are buying you alongside other products and other services. And I think you have to make a big effort to form partners, to create channels, to integrate with other solutions out there that are available to you, and to package your product. It makes it a lot easier to be competitive that way. It makes it a lot easier to grow. And you have to keep in mind ecosystem is very important. I think for earlier stage startups, I think you're going to spend, you know, it's a dance that takes 2 steps. And one is you actually have to have a product out there that's viable, because in the long run, otherwise you're going to get killed. I think secondly, and I think a lot of startups don't do this often enough, is actually to start focusing on marketing from day one. It's so important to be able to explain why you're different, to attract people, to get to know them, to make them feel that you're something interesting and worthwhile looking at. That's not something that can be done once you've got a great product. You know, the best product in the market, nobody's going to touch you if they don't really feel a connection to you and think it's interesting. So I would really say start from the beginning, investing in your marketing. Start selling as if you're a large organization from day one. Start thinking about that. Because it's not only going to help you to grow, it's also going to help you to improve your product and to understand what's valuable in it. So I think those are the 2 suggestions I have.
Some great advice, definitely. I would say that for us, the road for getting from a small company to a unicorn, the challenges will change depending on what stage you're at. I cannot give you one advice that will sort of hold true from day 1 to day 365. When you're first starting out, it is a lot about finding a product and finding a product that makes sense in the market, trying to identify an opportunity, something that your other competitors are not doing well, or there is a space in the market that you can fill, and you can create a good product to fill that in. For us, Zomato, I would say that the major thing that has allowed us to grow in every market that we enter is our product, hands down. We invest a lot into it. We invest a lot into development of the product. We try to stay up to date with the latest technologies because, again, like Anthony was saying, the bar that has been set by other apps available on the App Store is really, really high. And users expect from free apps infinite functionality. And if something just doesn't work, I'm sorry, and you all have to agree, our default behavior is like, oh God, I'm never using this app again, let me delete it, and I'm going to find 3 other ones.
So I'll give you a 1-star review first.
Exactly, and I'll give you a 1-star review first. Because that's what the market has done. So that sets the bar really, really high. So your product, at least for us, Zomato, the product is something that's absolutely key. Second thing is UI and UX. If you're creating an app, it needs to feel really, really nice. It needs to be clean. People need to love to use your app. Because then what happens next is that people are going to do your marketing for you a lot. Word of mouth. They're going to recommend it to their friends. For us, that happened a lot, and that's why we grew so quickly in Portugal. I mean, in 1 year's time, we had about 500,000 users in Lisbon alone that were using Zomato every day to find, or throughout the months, who were using Zomato every day to sort of find the next restaurant that they're going to eat at. So this is the first step of the plan. By creating a really nice product that sort of fixes the user's problem in a really, really good way, better than the competition's, that means that you're getting repeat users and people are using your platform a whole lot. From there, it becomes really easy to monetize for us. Because if I approach a restaurant today, I know that I have a massive consumers, these 500,000 users, which are using Zomato to decide where they're going to spend their next 20 euros. And by advertising through Zomato, you could actually go out and get a lot more customers. Second point is do partnerships. Again, I think that really works very well for us. We started doing, in the beginning, covering a lot of food festivals. We do it for free. We would just, hey, you guys promote us, we'll promote you. It's a win-win situation. You have to expend 0 money. You expend a little bit of work. And these really started sort of snowballing for us. So a lot of the time now, people, when they see a food festival, they think Zomato. I'm going to check on the app because I know that I'm going to find all the information there. And sometimes this was like 1 or 2 weeks' work to cover an event that would go on for 1 day. And after 1 day, we would have to delete the listings because they didn't make sense anymore. But they work really, really well for us in terms of partnerships. And actually, in the spirit of this, if there are any startups here which feel that they would benefit from the data that Zomato has and that we collect, we actually have open APIs. So you guys can use all of our data about the restaurant's ratings, reviews, location, photos, et cetera, to power your own products. It's really easy. Developers.zomato.com. Shameless plug, I'm sorry.
Everything to do with how to become a unicorn. Regarding this whole unicorn thing, for those that don't know, a unicorn means billion-dollar valuation, which obviously is something everyone wants to strive for, but at Hole19 it's not about the valuation, it's not about the funding we receive, it's about customers loving your product, customers continuously using your product and just adding value for your users and for your stakeholders. Obviously investors are stakeholders too, and we need to make them happy, but it's not, some people celebrate their funding rounds when they raise a round of money. We haven't even announced how much money we've raised, and we won't just yet. But it's not really we don't consider funding a milestone. Funding is a means to an end. It's like you're building a car, you use the first funding to build your car, you then need fuel to put in the tank to drive to where you want to go, which is your vision. The funding rounds are the gas stations on the way to get to that end goal. So we don't really strive towards, oh, I want this round of funding, I want that round of funding. Some companies might need 20 million euros, other companies might need 1 million euros. It depends on the company, it depends on what your needs are. In our case, we just focus on delivering a great user experience, delivering a great product, adding value. And we don't necessarily, I don't wake up every morning thinking, how am I going to become a unicorn? I wake up every morning thinking, I'm going to answer my customers' response, we need to build a great product, we need to grow. And I guess unicorn is a function of, becoming a unicorn is a function of building a great product, so you should always focus on that.
I think you said it all, guys. Really.
Okay, thank you. I suppose that our time is over. Okay, so I can ask if anybody in the audience could have any questions to the nobody? Okay.
Hello, my name is Alexander Levin, Tech Guru startup. Yeah, it's marketplace for the active sports. So you mentioned about it. And my question is, how do you think the data supplement for the main travel service aggregators, if it could be useful for increasing of number of users, targeted users for the startup?
Should I take this?
Okay.
I think, so if I understand the question, is how can we leverage data that we're capturing with data aggregators to help us grow? Is that? I think that's when what both mentioned partnerships, right? So if you provide data to aggregators and they in turn, as a currency for that data, they say, hey, we're going to promote your product, then in that sense, I guess it can help you grow. So I'll give you an example. In our case, we are working with golf courses directly. So much like Zomato has the stickers of this has been rated by Zomato or this is on Zomato, we want to do the same type of model for golf courses. This golf course is on Hole19. And what we want to do is we're going to give the golf courses data on, obviously privacy is always something you need to work on. We can't just give away emails, but we're not doing that. We're giving aggregate data. And in return, we want the golf course to push our product. So it says, hey, download Hole19 and play the best round of golf ever. And in turn, we give them, the more they push Hole19, the better the data gets. So in that sense, this exchange of currency, which not necessarily money, can help you grow. I hope that answers the question.
One thing that would be interesting to know, now we know that there's some problems with recruiting talented people. How could you deal with this problem with engineers and so on, with technical people, for instance?
I think this is a huge challenge, to be honest, especially for startups. I think the only thing you have really is your vision and your promise to challenge people to their limits. I think that's what really will attract engineers. They're not interested as much in salary or things like that, but they are interested in something that they're going to have an opportunity to do something that's going to push their skills, their ability, their drive, and to also bind to something that's beyond just a paycheck. So I think those are two things you have to focus on when developing it. And I think also focus on quality. Something actually I was speaking to Ricardo yesterday about. It's much better to have one great engineer than 10 average engineers. You want someone out there who's really going to push you as much as they're being pushed. So focus on quality as well.
I completely agree. Hiring engineers and designers and talented engineers in today's day and age is a huge challenge for any company. Zomato, actually, we just held a hackathon here in Lisbon specifically to come and hire engineers and developers, and then designers from here, from Lisbon, to join our product team in Delhi. So that's how far we've come to come and search for developers. It's a really challenging problem because there is a big shortage right now in the market, right? If you're a talented developer, you can pretty much command your price and you get the pick of the litter. You can go wherever you want. So companies right now are striving to sort of be able to build something more than just a paycheck, right? Because you can have all the money in the world, but if the engineers don't like your product, they're not going to want to work on it every single day. Right? If the designers don't find your brand appealing, they're not going to want to design for it. So the big challenge.
You have to motivate them to it.
Absolutely. You have to, and for us at least, we have one small advantage, which is that we are a large consumer product, so it's pretty probable that somebody has already used our product and they've liked it, so that's a plus point when they come and sort of interview for us, or that's how they found out about Zomato. But even for a company our size, it's still a huge, huge challenge to hire for tech talent. If you're, let's say, a small startup and you want to attract, like Anthony said, it's super important that you can attract someone who is really talented on the tech side if you're trying to build a product, is you got to sell your vision. You got to find like-minded people who would want and would love to work on your product every single day and create that culture since day one. that would be amazing for developers, and just that there is a great product at the center of your startup, and that you're solving a real problem. You're not just doing something which doesn't matter at the end of the day.
So, Hole19, 12 or 14 months ago, we were 5 people. Now we're 22 people. I can speak locally in the Lisbon scene. A lot has changed. Those who follow the Lisbon startup scene, it's just been going crazy. Thanks to obviously great articles written by you in Express. But the thing is, it is getting really hard to hire engineers, designers as well. Engineers probably a little harder. And we're not even competing with other startups, which we are definitely competing with other startups. And now all of a sudden Zomato's here stealing our engineers as well. Hey, it's got to be that. The challenge here is that what's happening now, phenomenon, and I was discussing this in the coffee break, is engineers now are actually also working remotely. So you have amazing Portuguese engineers working at home in their pajamas for American companies, making 15,000 euros a month. Now we can't compete with that. I definitely can't. I don't know if you might. But it's tough, right? So you're competing with guys, 25, 27, 28-year-olds who are getting offered 10 to 15,000 euros a month. And if you're an engineer out here, don't do it. But the thing is, we've managed to keep our engineers. We don't pay those amounts, not even close. By really being very passionate and having that vision, obviously creating a culture in the company that people love going to work for. They love working for the company. Because we're not ever going to compete with these salaries. I don't think we can get there. So when you hire, make sure that you show your passion, you show your vision, you share that, you create a work environment where people just say, hey, I really want to build this. Believe it or not, we're in the golf space. Not all our engineers play golf, but they still love working there. Because we are solving a problem. They love building great user experiences. You also need to make sure you hire A players, because if you don't hire A players all across the board, you're not going to get other A players to join. So in our case, we have, in my opinion, one of the best designers in Portugal. Don't ever try and steal it from me. We have an amazing designer, and it actually engineers know what kind of stuff he's designed. They want to work with him. We've now hired another designer who's 19 years old, amazing talent. People want to work with apps that are great design, with apps that are featured by Apple, apps that are featured by Google. So make sure you keep the level really high and don't ever compromise. Don't ever hire B players. Don't ever hire C players, because they're going to attract D players and E players. That being said, Hole19 is hiring. Android, Ruby on Rails, let me know.
I don't have that problem yet. There's still 8. I hope I'll have it in the future.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I suppose that we learned a lot with these great startups. So thank you for your time, and applause for these people.